On June 12th, SpaceX is expected to list on the NASDAQ, with a target valuation pushing $2 trillion. The S1 filing reveals a highly unusual structure for an offering of this size. Biographer Walter Isaacson described the upcoming listing as a rare chance for retail investors to put their money into something meaningful that makes a real difference in this world. Underwriters are reserving a massive 30% of the total float strictly for retail buyers. This allows everyday investors to purchase shares at the IPO price, rather than waiting for the secondary market markup. Flooding the market with retail buyers serves a specific purpose. It creates intense day-one demand and builds a vast, loyal public base to defend that $2 trillion valuation. Securing those shares requires navigating the brokerage gates before the June 12th ticker launch. The requirements vary by platform. Fidelity and Charles Schwab demand up to $100,000 in account minimums just to request an allocation. Meanwhile, Robinhood and SoFi allow users to submit indications of interest with zero minimum balance. These requests must be submitted during the institutional roadshow window between June 4th and 8th, well before the final share price is locked in on June 11th. While the doors are technically open, the highly competitive allocation process means the actual shares will likely flow toward accounts with established financial weight. If you read through the hundreds of pages of the actual S1 filing, the engineering optimism gives way to an aggressive financial reality. SpaceX brought in $18.7 billion in revenue in 2025, but towering next to it is a staggering net loss of $4.9 billion. Breaking that apart reveals the culprit. Following the xAI acquisition, SpaceX poured billions into training Grok and building the Colossus infrastructure. The company carries an accumulated deficit of $41.3 billion. For investors, the risk is less about the mechanics of rocketry and more about the extreme capital requirements of a global AI infrastructure project. This massive corporate expenditure maps onto CEO Elon Musk's exact compensation package, which awards him billions in Class B shares for hitting market cap milestones that culminate in establishing a permanent human colony on Mars. The Starlink satellite internet business is highly profitable, but that revenue is being diverted to subsidize a terrestrial hardware race. The merge of spaceflight and AI traces back to the physical constraints of Earth's power grid. Training frontier models requires massive amounts of electricity, and ground-based data centers are maxing out local capacities. The S1 outlines a workaround: orbital data centers. By placing server constellations in sun-synchronous orbits, these machines receive uninterrupted 24/7 solar energy. STACE also solves thermal management. Without an atmosphere, orbital servers use passive radiative cooling, bypassing the massive power requirements of ground-based data centers. But the environment brings severe trade-offs. Hardware degrades under cosmic radiation, and a single micrometeoroid strike can destroy a computing node. The U.S. government sees the utility. The Pentagon recently awarded SpaceX $6.4 billion in Space Force contracts, while companies like Google are actively exploring similar off-world computing clusters. SpaceX is leveraging its launch dominance to establish an off-planet artificial intelligence utility, utilizing the IPO proceeds to scale that infrastructure. Funding that infrastructure requires accepting a highly restrictive legal framework. This diagram breaks down the S1's dual-class share structure. Musk holds 42% of economic equity, but Class B shares carrying 10 votes each give him 85% voting power. This controlled company status removes independent board requirements and mandates binding individual arbitration, blocking class action lawsuits. Retail investors are invited to share in the economic upside, but they surrender all structural influence over mergers, acquisitions, and executive compensation. This concentration of power triggered immediate institutional pushback. Leaders from major public pension funds gathered at New York City Hall to issue formal warnings against the SpaceX governance structure. Officials from CalPERS and the New York City Comptroller highlighted a specific clause in the filing: the CEO cannot be removed without his own consent. By mathematical definition, he is unfirable. Investing on June 12th means underwriting a vision of multiplanetary infrastructure that exists outside the standard reach of public market regulation. The books open the second week of June. The question is whether you will be placing an order when the bell rings.